Welcome back to Direct Edition, a podcast about nothing and everything. I'm your host, Dave. Sometimes I forget to say the tagline. Sometimes I don't. Just deal with it. Man, I'm in a space today. I'm not in space though. Or am I? Space. I seem to record this podcast when I have unless it's an interview, just something going on in my mind. And it's just always a number of factors. Look, I'm a human being that deals with severe anxiety and sometimes depression and all that good stuff that comes along with it. And by good, I mean shitty. But it's just like one thing can trigger a series of bad thoughts or, like a stupid, I dropped a glass of water and then everything kind of Murphy's Law, whatever can happen will happen. But I was trying to set up the podcast recording just now. I had my lights up. I had the backlights on. I had some stuff on the shelves to kind of fill up the background. And I couldn't get the fucking glare out of my glasses because, sometimes I record during the day and there's no glare because there's just enough natural light. But anyway, that's not interesting. But I tore it all down. I was like, this is fucking annoying. I had it on a monitor and all this stuff. And I'm like, you know what? Fuck it. This podcast isn't about fancy lights. This podcast isn't about great lighting. It's about good sound, which I think everything should sound really good right now. And it's about me yapping. And so I said, Dave, stop being a little baby and fucking record. And so here we are. So I wanted you to have that, I think it's good to know all of the things that are happening in my mind. Isn't that what this podcast is about? You're my therapist? Okay, no, that's not. So yeah, I'm recording this on the day before the Jim Ward interview gets released. So this is Sunday, I don't know, the 16th or something. Fucking days matter anymore. And so I wanted to put this out there because this week actually, 6 days from now, I'm interviewing Sean Crystal, Ink Pulp Live. He's a comic book artist. He's an artist. He is a instructor. For a lot of people, he's a mentor and a community leader as well, and a friend. That podcast is being recorded this Friday. And I think the smart thing to do is put a buffer episode in between the two interviews, because then I don't have to, pressure Joe to do the editing in 2 days and the reels and all that. And I don't have to pressure Andrew for the title, all this stuff. There's other people that help out with this podcast. So I thought it would be good to give a little breathing room and none for myself. So, I guess the host the podcast guy should be the one who takes the hit from the bong. So I figured I would just yap to the camera today and to the microphone, and I'm sure something interesting will come out of this episode. I was just thinking about how my addictive personality, which is I'm a former guess not former. You never really get out of your alcoholism. You just kind of deal with it. So I'm an alcoholic, somebody who has been sober for almost 11 years. But the thing is that learning to deal with addiction can come in many different things. And one of them is when I really like a video game, I get addicted to it. I used to be a big gamer, especially online. I've told a couple of friends this, but in, I guess it was 2003 or 4 is when Halo 2 came out for the Xbox. And that was the beginning of Xbox Live. And of course I had to try it. And I loved the first Halo game. Absolutely played it. Played through it with a friend multiple times, played through it myself, always on Legendary. I always like to make it the most challenging. And then Halo 2 comes out and I was like, all right, I'm going to try this Xbox Live. In 2004, I quit my job because I was going to move to California. I fell in love with Southern California, and I was convinced I'm just going to save up a bunch of money and move out there. And so I didn't move to Southern California, and I ended up kind of like, I guess I must have, yeah, I was selling stuff on eBay. It was selling autographs and sports memorabilia and like my old collection. And I kind of just took like 6 months off of work or what turned out to be like 6 months off of work at least. And I was playing Halo 2 a lot. And it was when I was smoking hella weed too. And I lived with a couple of roommates. They were a couple and I lived with them for like 5 years. Maybe it was a little bit less, but no, I feel like it was about 5 years. They told me after we moved out of that house to the next house that we lived in that they thought that I was selling drugs because all I did was play Xbox and smoke weed. And they weren't wrong about that. I just wasn't selling drugs. I was selling stuff on eBay. It was a simpler time back then. You could easily afford to like rent a house with friends and, you know, make, I don't know, like $2,500, $3,000 a month and still have plenty of money to do whatever you wanted. It was 2004 or 5, 20 years ago. That was the beginning of me realizing like how addicted I was to online gaming, especially like not in the traditional sense of, massive multiplayer online games, like, I can't even name ones that exist now besides maybe like Fortnite and Overwatch. And the one I'm going to talk about, Marvel Rivals. So anyway, I got into playing one-player games eventually, but I really did like playing online shooters, whether it was Halo or, I played Call of Duty for a little bit, probably like a year, but I couldn't because it's just like when you're listening to what people are saying while they're playing that game, you're like, oh my God, these are the worst people alive. Whether they mean the things that they say or not, but the words that they use, it's still, you can't unhear those things. So I ended up taking, like, basically like stopping playing video games in 2000 and I want to say like 15, because my nerve damage had gotten so bad from sitting at a desk job that I couldn't play anymore. And so I just decided to stop and I got rid of my Xbox. So about 5 years later, actually, the pandemic hit and I started working for the post office. And as a lot of you know, and I decided to reward myself. I had heard a lot of good things about Last of Us and the second one was coming out, but I never really had seen anything about what the game plays like or anything. So I decided to get a PS4. This is like right before the PS5 came out. So I bought a used PS4, got Last of Us, and got Last of Us 2 when it came out. And so pandemic, delivering mail, and playing Last of Us and then Last of Us 2, which takes place in Seattle. So it was really weird. It was really strange to play a post-apocalyptic Seattle game while the world is kind of feeling a little post-apocalyptic, especially in downtown Seattle. But I fell back in love with video games, and this is the first time I had owned a PlayStation since PS2. I skipped 3 and then got 4, and I fell in love with that game. I played God of War. I fell in love with that game, and then Spider-Man came out, and I fell in love with that game. So I switched from almost exclusive. Oh, by the way, and also Grand Theft Auto. Never lost the love for that game because it's amazing. But I never played any of these games online because, well, Last of Us, God of War, and Spider-Man aren't online games. And so fast forward, I got a PS5, whatever, like a year and change ago, and started playing, this second Spider-Man game and the second God of War game, Ragnarok, which was okay. It was did not live up to the one before it. Remastered Last of Us, all that. So fast forward to about a month and a half ago or so, and Marvel Rivals got released. I didn't even know what it was. Like, I didn't know it was coming out. And so I'm like, all right, let me play this game. Let me try it. I've never played. I think the one that everybody says it's close to is Fortnite or Overwatch. One of the two. Once again, I don't know anything about those games because they're just not my thing. And so I'm not trying to be ageist. So I downloaded it. It's free. And I start playing it. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, what is this game? The first thing that I could equate that game to was how I felt when I saw the Lego movie. it was made for the ADD generation. And that is the generation, like these are the people that are 5 to 15 years younger than me that like grew up with cell phones. Like the internet was already, like kind of fully formed. And a lot of these people, and I once, this is not me trying to be mean, but a lot of people younger than me, like you grew up having attention deficit disorder by nature. Like that's baked into you, your DNA, because this is like, you grew up with all this stuff that's happening and all the selection where like, I am very fortunate to have grown up learning the internet as it was existing, playing the simplest video games as they were coming out. Like I was playing Atari and Commodore 64 and then into NES and then into, like I evolved with these systems. So I learned how to have attention for something that was in front of me because there wasn't a bunch of stuff around me to distract me. Anyway, so I started playing this game and I'm like, what the fuck? I can't, this game sucks. It's not that, it's just like, it's crazy. There's no way to like strategize or feel like you have a second to think. Everything's just happening, blah, blah. But I started to get used to it. And then I started to play it and I'm playing it online and I don't have a headset, so I'm not talking to people and there's none of that. And I'm just playing with people. And I said it probably like 2 weeks into friends. I'm like, I am addicted to this game. I fully know that I am addicted to this game because it's based on, characters and stuff that I love and know. It's introducing me to some new characters or like new versions of characters. Like, I knew that Jeff the Land Shark was a character, but I know, like no interaction with that character whatsoever. Or, like this version of Namor was, the one that was in Black Panther 2, but I never like, like no cartoonish interaction with this character. Or Squirrel Girl, like had that first appearance comic a bunch of times. I've never read a book or even opened a book with that character. So it's interesting in that aspect. It's highly fast-paced. Now the scary thing, the worst part about it is like, yeah, you could be addicted to something that you don't really enjoy. And if it's not a chemical addiction, like alcohol or heroin, whatever, if it's not something that's rooted in consumption physically, then you can pretty much just be like, all right, I'm fucking done with this. But I'm really good at this game. Like really good at this game. If I were to play on a team in a tournament, I'm really good at this game. And I started playing with Black Widow because it's like I like snipers, an insanely hard character to use. So I'm like, oh, this is a challenge. And then I tried Scarlet Witch and I haven't looked back since. Because, she's just the most powerful character. If somebody's healing you, if you've got protection, always wear protection, kids. If you've got protection, you're unstoppable. And it's just like, it's fun. It's fun, but I've put like 140 hours into this game or, something. So like, I fully know that, and when I went to OAX, it was a nice test because I spent like a week away from that game and I wasn't like jonesing for it, but I'd be lying if I didn't hear some of the characters, shouting their slogans in my head or some of the music while I wasn't playing that game. So yeah, it's a fun way to kill time. And I definitely know that I do put it down. I'll play it in the morning after I'm done eating breakfast to like, it helps me get my brain started. And it was the same process for the most part when I worked for the post office. Like, I'd play video games probably for about a half hour before I went to work just to kind of like zone out, but also get my brain working. And I'm not one of these people that like thinks that, gaming is a waste of time. Like, I think it's actually a great use of hobby time, free time or whatever. But multiplayer games have been known to waste my life away. So luckily that's why I don't talk to people online, because I don't want to actually only play with one friend who will remain nameless. And we call each other. So I don't talk to random people on, whatever. But I have been known to waste a lot of my life playing multiplayer games with people. So slippery slope, but I fully know I'm talking to you about it. So, but it is a fun game. I'm not going to lie. It took me a little while to get used to the fast pacedness, because I remember playing, and obviously games have gotten quicker and better and all that. But I got a Nintendo 64 my first, the 1 year I went away to college, just to play GoldenEye. And I remember how, if you're in your 30s, late 30s, 40s, or 50s, you remember how amazing it was to play the first person shooter multiplayer game that everybody could connect with, because it's the 90s. James Bond, Pierce Brosnan, James Bond. It was, there was only kind of a little point towards the end of his career where Bond wasn't super popular. Now he was again with Daniel Craig, but I digress. It was a milestone in gaming, that game. And I bought a N64 and 4 controllers, and I played it with my flatmates, my floor mates. And then, Mario Kart was also a big one. But I was more of the multiplayer shooter, and then Halo and all that. So, but I've always loved video games, and I know a lot of my friends really do, and we all have different tastes and stuff. But the Venn diagram of anybody my age in GoldenEye, there is nothing else. It's just GoldenEye. The outsides are the uncommons, but there is barely any outside of that Venn diagram. So yeah, I've been playing a lot of Marvel Rivals, and it's been good. It's been good. I'm enjoying it, and enjoying the time suck that I allow it to be when it is, especially get my mind off things. But right now, it's just a shit show. Everywhere you look, it's a shit show. I mean, I'm fully in for all the distractions that I can possibly get. I went to go see Captain America 4, aka Brave New World, aka its real original title, New World Order, which I really wish I could see the script of what they had, if they had a script when they had the title New World Order, because in a post, at that point it was post-Trump, and it was during Biden. Now that movie got delayed a little bit, reshoots and all that. Now we're in a Trump fascist regime or whatever. And I really would love to see if that was more political, because, and I'm not going to go into spoilers, I liked it. I enjoyed it. I had a good time. I have always liked Anthony Mackie since I think the first thing I remember him from is 8 Mile. I met him working an event that I used to work at in New York City, probably 2012 or somewhere thereabouts. He came into this event with what's his name from Entourage, main dude, Adrian Grenier. And it was for a Monday Night Football game. I can't remember who the Saints were playing, but they were playing somebody. And I was just talking to Mackie. He's a super nice guy. We were talking football because he's from New Orleans, so he wants to see his Saints. It may have been the year after they won the Super Bowl. Either way, very nice guy. I took a photo with him. Probably I think I at least had one drink with him, and I remember hearing people say 6 months ago or so, oh, he doesn't have charisma. He can't carry a movie. And to me, it's just you're saying the racist thing without saying it. Yes, he does. And yes, he can. I actually think with him and Sebastian Stan, the best part about the Captain America, the Winter Soldier and Falcon series was the chemistry that the two of them had together. And it wasn't Sebastian Stan carrying Mackie. It was the two of them, because they both ooze charisma, and they're both funny, and they're both just really fun to watch. So I never had anybody say in my space, to my face, that he doesn't have charisma, because I would have called it out to them. But I've heard and seen people say it, and I'm just why don't you just say that you don't like a black Captain America? I mean, if you're gonna be racist, you might as well be racist. Or you might as well just be a shithead. I don't know. Like, I don't know if it's necessarily racism or if it's like, oh, I can't let go of Chris Evans and Steve Rogers as Captain America and he's white. So, blah. Because it was a big deal, when Falcon took up the shield in the comics. And there was a lot of, there was news stories and there was controversy. And it's just like, here's my take on this whole, like, new person, old character, like Miles being Spider-Man, but Peter's still there. Or Falcon, being Sam, being Cap. I'm trying to think, or, like I always want to be interested. I want to stay interested, I should say. And the same thing over and over does not keep me interested. And especially because, like, these superheroes, right? It's not like we created this character and he is played by this person and he will always be played by this person because this is an actor playing a thing, right? Like, they're not gonna get, like, I mean, they might, I don't know if they reboot Star Wars, but they're not gonna not reboot Star Wars, like they're not gonna have a black person playing Luke Skywalker in the next Star Wars movie unless they reboot it. I don't care, but it would be weird if they're like, yeah, Mark Hamill just stepped out, so we got Danny Glover because he's old and Luke Skywalker. You know what I'm saying? But this is a comic book character that Captain America was created by, I can't believe I just used that. Was created by Joe Simon and Jack Kirby. I believe that Simon's Jewish. I'm not 100% sure, but actually he is. Both of them are Jewish. This was created as a propaganda tool to help the U.S. soldiers kind of have something to look at and be hopeful for in World War II and maybe even the rest of the world. It was created as a symbol, right? It was created as a symbol of hope in real life. A symbol can be anybody. You can take a symbol and be like, oh, this person represents that symbol. This person represents that symbol. She does, he does. Like, it doesn't matter. Just because you can't get over the fact that this is a white person from creation in fiction is now a black person wearing the shield, like, that is on you. That is not society, or it's a symbol. Superman could be anybody. Isn't that the whole point of what Stan Lee said about Spider-Man? I think there was an interview 10, 15 years ago addressing, I don't actually know if it was addressing Miles. I don't know if it was from before Miles was created, but he was saying that's why I put a mask on Spider-Man, because Spider-Man can be anybody. It doesn't matter. Could be a black person. It could be a brown person. It could be a woman. It could be man. It doesn't matter. It is what Spider-Man represents. And, I think most of you listening to me that follow me on either platform understand where my morals and where my stances lie on things like this. That, like, you can't take these characters and co-opt them for something that goes against what they were created for. And once again, Captain America was created as a symbol for hope for the soldiers in World War II, the worst war this world had ever seen and hopefully ever sees. Atrocities happening, and it's just like that cover of the first Captain America, of Captain America punching Hitler. Could have been anybody. Could have been a black man. Although 1930s, it wouldn't have, just because the way society was. It could be a woman, which it wouldn't have. It could have been, somebody non-binary, but it doesn't matter. Like, of the time, it's not going to be those things. It's 2025. We have to be better. And, I think that anybody who has a problem with Mackie being Captain America, I think that's a reflection of them. The movie, like I said, sorry, I did not know that this was going to be me, talking about this like this, but clearly on my mind. But the movie was fun. Harrison Ford, I could watch Harrison Ford be angry for 4 hours straight. I mean, it's Harrison Ford. I'll say this. Harrison Ford, I think he's like 79, 80. So, maybe he's got 5 more years of acting. I think he has talked about not wanting to act anymore, but he keeps getting offered stuff that he takes. We know he doesn't need any money. He got that Star Wars money, and that Indiana Jones money, and that Marvel money, and that shrinking money. He's just got money. But I say we got about 5 years until he's like kind of done with acting. You, me, our mothers, our fathers, everybody, we're all going to miss him when he's not acting anymore, when he's not on our screens. And then obviously, as life takes people into the veil, we're going to miss him when he's gone. And I hope, I'd love for people to watch this movie and appreciate him in it. And the guy, Joaquin Torres, the guy who plays Joaquin Torres, who's Falcon, fantastic also. It's just fun to watch. I think people should go back and take a look at that last Indiana Jones movie. What was it? The Dial of Destiny. I love that movie because that movie is exactly what it's about. It is about Indiana Jones coming to terms with aging and all of us kind of coming to terms with aging. I think that's one of the reasons why people didn't like it is because they probably took a look at their own mortality, which it's terrifying. I mean, it is. It really is to like think one day that this is the moment that I did this podcast, and one day I won't be able to do anything like this. Whatever it is. But I love that last Indiana Jones movie. I mean, it's not Raiders and it's not the originals, but it doesn't have to be because we have those. There's a 4th movie in there. I don't exist. That movie doesn't exist. It's just the 4 movies. The first 3 and then this one. But I love Harrison Ford. I think we all do. I mean, we grew up with him as our dads. He actually reminds me of my dad in looks for the most part. Yeah, they have the same silver hair and same kind of face almost. It's weird. I think we were all raised by him in some way or another. And it's really nice to see him still in these big roles and kind of like steals. I mean, that's the one thing that maybe you can make a case for versus Anthony Mackie is Ford steals every scene that he's in. So, and that Red Hulk, which is not a secret, obviously it's all over the posters, was pretty cool. But I see a lot of people who are like, yeah, I enjoyed it. I think it's like a top Marvel movie? No. But do I really enjoy it? Sure. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. And then there's people just hating on it because that's what they do. Like literally that's what they do. And I'm not going to go too deep into that rabbit hole because I want to keep this, positive. But I think I just have to really call a spade a spade. I used to think that maybe, like people couldn't, when people hate on these comic movies, the Marvel movies, I used to think it's like maybe I'm just weird for liking them, or maybe I'm just I'm not paying attention too much to the specificity of the dialogue. But now I realize that these people that like hate on it, I don't think they actually enjoy much. Like if you can't sit there and enjoy a 2-hour comic book movie with all these fantastic actors in it and the suspension of disbelief that takes for a comic book movie, like I get it. Like the Fox ones, the Spider-Man villain ones, they just don't make sense. Like there's no need for them to exist. So you're predisposed to be like, why am I watching this, or whatever. But at least with the MCU stuff and that stuff, there's continuity in it. And it's not always the best, but it's better budget. Like it's usually trying harder. There's a couple movies that maybe cut too much or didn't cut enough, but it just baffles me that people get so worked up and angry, really fucking angry, and at these movies. Like, don't go see them. And therein lies my push and pull. Whereas like I don't read too many modern Marvel superhero books anymore because I just kind of lost interest in that. There's some that I do. I'm actually more inclined to read DC, but indie stuff, Image or whatever, and Dark Horse and stuff. But I've read a lot, and I've read a shit ton, and there are so many bad comics out there in the Marvel Universe, and I would put any of those bad comics way further down the food chain than even the worst Marvel movies. And I don't get angry at them. I don't. Like, Venom pissed me off, and it's my fault because I said I wasn't going to watch it, and then I watched it for free. All three of them, and I hated all three of them. But I don't get so angry. I actually turn it into humor. A lot of you listening know that. So I just don't understand. Like, you could not go see the movie, or you could just get it on Disney Plus, like pay your monthly membership and watch it there and be angry but I just don't understand why people get so angry. Like, they're like, I was in a group chat with some people that invited me into it, and I'm not a group chat person. They make my stomach turn because I like having one-on-one conversations. That's why I interview people. That's why most of you that know me personally know that I enjoy talking in person. And having conversations. I mean, like, I could, some of the things that were said about this movie, I'm like, did you guys see the same movie I saw? Because I was elated. Like, I was having fun. I was just eating it up because it's like, oh, I get to watch these comic book characters on the screen. But, you can't get into it with people, and you can't, try and really understand it anymore. You can just try and find the people that have similar tastes or similar views in how they react to good and bad movies. I still stand on, the hill after watching. I saw Madam Web for free on my TV, and then Chris Pierce, Comic Tropes, and Jim Mafood, they do a show together called Trash Movie Bonanza, where they kind of do a mystery science theater look at horror or schlocky movies, but they decided to throw some superhero movies into the mix because there are some bad ones. And they did Madam Web, and it's as long, the episode is longer than the movie because it's so funny, because the two of them just pointed out all of these weird things and like stupid things and like plot holes, not even plot holes, plot canyons. But at the end, like, I agreed with them. This movie is funny if you just let it be funny. And if you just kind of look at it at this way. Now, you don't have to watch it. That's the thing. You also don't have to watch it. But like, going to watch it and then spending a fucking ton of time being angry and hateful about it, like, at that point, I know you're doing it because that's what your disposition is, and that's what you want to be. Like, sure, I have definitely been at fault and have been a hypocrite in what I'm saying right now, but I actively try not to anymore. I try to enjoy things for some reason or another, or laugh at them. Because if I sit and I go outside and I take in all the stuff that people say and all the things that are happening around the country right now, and I internalize them and get angry, I will have a heart attack by fucking Friday. And that's why I had to just record this the way I'm recording it, because I was like having a little bit of a hissy fit at myself, and because I'm frustrated today. And I realized, like, I just got to sit and talk, and like something good will come out, and hopefully this is appealing to a couple of people. Like, I understand that sometimes this podcast serves as me just venting, but I want you to know that I take this very seriously, and I want people to find maybe some common ground, somebody like, it's kind of like why I love music and listening to lyrics so much, because I feel like somebody understands me out there, even if they don't know me, even if they're not writing it anywhere remotely for me. I just feel like it's nice to feel seen, even if it's a reflection. even if I'm just seeing myself in a song or a movie or whatever, or a piece of art. So, but I really am actively this year in 2025, more than any other year in my life, I'm trying to at least find positivity in everything I can, instead of seeking more doom scrolling, more doom intake of the news and of the political spectrum. Like I want to have good conversations with people. I certainly don't want to be around anybody that supports this madness that's happening right now, because it is madness. It's not sanity. And I want to experience a little more. I want to watch some more movies this year. I feel like last year, maybe the last 2 years, I didn't see too much. I did see A Real Pain when I was in Florida. I watched that with my mother. The movie that Jesse Eisenberg wrote and directed, starring Kieran Culkin and Jesse Eisenberg. What an amazing movie. A spiritual brother to Everything is Illuminated. If you've never seen that movie, one of my all-time favorites, with Elijah Wood and Eugene Hutz, based on the Jonathan Safran Foer book. Beautiful movie. A little heartbreaking, but really beautiful and funny. But yeah, I just think that if we can all find some more positivity, it will be able to get through some of these, I don't know, atrocities, near atrocities, the dismantling of our rights and other things. I think we all have to stay vigilant, but at the same time, like, you have to give yourself a chance to breathe. You have to give yourself a chance to walk away from something or walk towards something. I am also very much so going to be taking the opportunity to walk away from things that are not serving me well. I may step away from certain social media platforms, personally and for business, because it's just becoming too much, and it's becoming a game that I don't want to play. One of the reasons why I'm dealing with, and this is not a good thing, and it's one of the reasons why I'm saying it out loud, is just, this is my business, and when it doesn't go well, and I don't mean money wise, I mean like when I'm posting things and they're not getting seen and all that stuff, like, and I feel like I have to double down and do more, I'm like, well, maybe I should back up and do less and save myself a little bit of that, that stress. So going to be doing a bunch of traveling this year, so that'll be nice. And going to be bringing you guys and gals more interviews and all that. Like I said, the next 2 weeks I've got interviews. I got Sean Crystal, and then as long as everything goes through on my calendar, I'll be interviewing Sanford Green next week, who is a co-creator of Bitterroot. He did that great Doom book that came out from Marvel last year. He's been in the comics industry for, 3 decades or so. We'll probably talk a lot about, just the experience that he's had. We'll probably talk about some hip hop stuff and, music, because I know he's a big music head too. So looking forward to that. But I'm looking forward to just sharing more things. And so yeah, so keep listening to this and keep encouraging me, and throw down some comments and ideas or whatever. Like, I'm not looking for complete suggestions. I'm not looking to source suggestions for episodes, but there's conversations that we have back and forth through this podcast, and I'm always happy to try and, answer things or address things, and I hope this wasn't too much of a, constant barrage of thoughts, but that is what you get when you get Direct Edition, a podcast about nothing and everything. Before we get going, I ask this every time, and I know a lot of you have taken care of this and helped me out, but for those of you that are new here or that maybe never got this far in a podcast, please, whatever platform you are listening to this on or watching this, subscribe. It really does help. dropping comments on YouTube or Spotify, rating it on Spotify or Apple really does help push this through and gets it to new people. I have recently reached out to some very high profile people that may have never seen my email to get them on this podcast. But I will say one person I did reach out to, their people got back to me. And I was like, whoa, I don't know if it's going to happen. It's not the biggest name in the world, but it's pretty big to me. So some of you might, be interested in hearing from it. But that's the goal. Just grow this, get more names on, and then eventually, I can beat Joe Rogan at his own game. Fucking weirdo. All right. Well, thank you for listening to Direct Edition. Check out West Coast Davengers on YouTube for my comic content. DavengerCon is coming April 5th and 6th, an online Comic Con right on my channel. Have a pleasant week, a pleasant day, and I'll see you next time. Peace.